That every day belongs to you. Sunlight and darkness too. In the safety of my solitude.
Hello friends, here's video 2 for the Ambershore knit along. I wanted to point out a couple things about this first shawl that I knit, this first Ambershore shawl. So I kind of made a whole bunch of mistakes in this middle area because what I did is I kind of just started following the pattern and didn't continue to check the pattern as I went. So a lot of this middle area is incorrect, and this entire thing here is not supposed to be there. Up here is more accurate to the pattern. And so one of the things that I wanted to point out about the pattern is that it this first color that we're using is never more than two. There's never more than two on either side of the two middle stitches. And then as we get up to this third color, so in this case it's the burnt madder root, the reddy orange, there's never more than 4 stitches according to the pattern. So I did it kind of incorrectly. And the reason there's not 4 up here is because I added this blue area. It kind of expanded out. I started this second Ambershore shawl in with the same first color, and in the pattern you're moving to your contrasting color 3 for this second color. So just I just have a couple tips going into it. So at the beginning and end of every row is knit 4, so we're knitting 4. Like I said in the first video, I abandoned my stitch markers because in this area, because I just know that after I knit 4 that I'm increasing. And then, so you increase in this first color and then you introduce the new color. So when I introduce a new color, I just fold the new color on itself like this. So you put the blue back there so you can see it. It's like a 5-inch fold over. And then I hook that fold. I'm going to knit these two together, these two brown ones, just like I did in the first video with the beginning of my blue, so that I can just cut them and not have ends to work in. And then the other thing I'm going to do is decide which one of these is is going to be knit on top and which one is going to be knit on bottom. And with the rules of color dominance in knitting, you want to knit the background color on top and the dominant color on the bottom. And what that means is you are the float for this blue, which is my background color, is going to be above the float on the wrong side of my fabric of the second color. And what that does in your finished product is help your dominant color, which is in this case not the background color, and the brown for me, it helps it kind of pop. The stitches are actually they show slightly bigger on the front of your fabric. Whoops. It's kind of easy if you are repositioning your hands to accidentally switch who is going on top and who's going on bottom. So when you drop your knitting, it's something to look at. And be intentional about. Now, when I'm doing colorwork knitting, and for this one, it's not really super important because we're literally just alternating between 2 stitches. But when I'm doing colorwork knitting where there's more of one stitch between one color between another color, and there's going to be a longer float, say between later on in the shawl, we have instances where there's 3 stitches between a color that gets dropped and picked up. In those instances, I like to stretch my stitches across my needle as I knit so that there's a nice amount of float happening behind. With this alternating between just 2 stitches, 2 colors, it's we're not at risk of having our fabric pucker once it's blocked. We want to be able to, you know, move our fabric, stretch it a bit without there being like, without our floats stopping that stretch from happening. So that's a good way. If you're a tight knitter, you might want to use that exercise even in the case of just these 2 stitches alternating. I'm not a super tight knitter, so I'm not too worried. Okay, so before I move the stitch marker, I'm making one right. Set my marker. Make 2, set my marker, make 1 left. My background color, and this is where I'm going to stretch my stitches over my needle so that my brown, the float for my brown will have the right amount of leeway. You can even kind of pull it a little bit out and test it before you keep going to make sure that stretch is there, that amount of float is happening back there before you keep knitting. And then I don't pull it tight because I don't want to take away from that float. Whoops, these 2 want to go in there together. All right, so I hope you guys gained some tips from this video, and I'll post another video about how I do the wrong side of my fabric, and I'll show you how I Portuguese knit those, because that's how I like to do any purling. So that'll be a bit of a tutorial in and of itself, showing you that Portuguese style. All right, onwards with your Ambershore shawls, guys. Thanks for joining.
Price for being you. the one most loved, the one most loved.